Hi, I'm Keith McGuire, Mark's behind the camera, and we're doing part 2 of the little shack down by the creek. We're trying to shorten the name, but we seem to be having a little problem with that. Anyway.
Suggest the name in the comments.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the shack. Okay, anyway. Today we're going to work on the building and a little bit of the foreground, possibly get to the river rocks down by the creek. Creek rocks?
Creek rocks.
Creek rocks, yeah.
Don't forget to oil your rocks.
Yep. All right, so.
If you didn't see part 1, go check out the older videos. If you need to know what we used, material list, a link to the material list is in the description below, so you can follow along. And let's get going.
All right. By your command. I'm going to start with the building. I'm going to use a wee bit indigo and a little bit of ultramarine blue. I'm mixing the two together, but I want a very light coat. In the last episode, we tried to get a lot of yellow, a little brightness into we want a little light shining through into our little scene here. I want that same light hitting the building. So I'm going to put a very light coat of the yellow down over the front of my building. But I don't want too much, okay? Because I think, as we all know, yellow and blue make green. So,
what yellow is that?
This is, again, the chrome yellow, or not chrome. This is the lemon yellow that we used in the last episode. And as you can see, it's not very dark, but I want some of that color on the building itself.
So just a reminder, or if you didn't watch part 1, Keith is using a 140-pound cold press Arches paper. These are Schminky pan paints, and he's got a low Cornell brush.
70-20, ultra round. Okay, so I got a little yellow, a little bit of sunshine on my building. Now, the reason I'm not putting too much color down is I don't, like I said, I'm going to be putting some blues, some grays into the picture. And if I have too much of that yellow, what's going to happen is I'm going to, hey
boss, you have a text message.
All right.
Hey boss, you have a text message.
Shut up.
Somebody thinks highly of himself.
Yeah. Well, it's better than Princess. All right. There. Okay, sorry about that. All right. So I put a little bit of yellow down, and now on the side that doesn't have any color, I'm going to, or any sunshine rather, I'm going to put just a light coat of ultramarine blue. That'll be kind of my base coat. So it gives it a little bit of a shadow feel to it. All right, so.
You're dry brushing, right?
Well, I am. You could wet the paper, or you could move very quickly. I would recommend, if you're kind of new at this or not fast, I would probably wet the paper, okay? In fact, I'll go ahead and do that now out of guilt.
Thanks, boss.
Yeah. Anyway, here we go. So I got a little bit of water on there now. You don't have to soak it. I got my ultramarine blue. And like I said, this is going to be my my shadow side of this little building. So I'm using a very, very light coat of the ultramarine blue. No yellow, because I don't want the aspect of sunshine or the feeling of sunshine on this side of the building. So
why wouldn't you use gray for your shadow? Because
gray's gray. There's a lot of other beautiful I like using different blues as my shadows. It helps make for a less dull painting. A lot of times people tend to rely on gray for shadows, for that kind of thing. Use your complementary colors when possible. Use blues instead of grays. I think you'll end up. As a matter of fact, I hardly ever use black. I use indigo, which I'm kind of using right now. Okay, for my black, just because it's a little prettier, a little shinier. I think it's a little bit wet yet, so I'm going to wait on that. In the meantime, while the building's drying up, I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow ochre, and I'm going to add a little green to this, okay? And what I'm going to be doing is a little bit of the foreground shrubbery, grasses, that kind of thing. If this were all green, it would get a little insane.
And if Keith doesn't do dead grass some point in the painting, he goes insane.
It's not a Keith McGuire, yeah. So anyway, what I'm using is I am applying this dry, because what I like to do is kind of give it some texture. I don't want to always I don't always want to use, it all wet and smooth and pretty. God forbid,
Nobody likes pretty painting.
That's right. These are man's watercolors. Yeah, that's it. Anyway.
Tune in next week for the dog with the duck in its mouth.
Soon. Yeah, that's down the creek. Just a little ways, yeah. With the fly fishermen, too. They'll be in the background. Anyway, as you can see, I just kind of block in these colors. I'm actually going to use a little bit of, at this point, I'm also doing a little bit of, well, I'll think of it. It's got a nice name, Naples Yellow. All right. Now, it's a little opaque, but it works well with others. It plays well with others. And no, this isn't going to all be just brown. I will be adding I will go back to adding some greens and stuff. I'm just kind of laying a base coat down. This is, again, yellow ochre. And I don't know if my rocks are becoming apparent yet, but
A little bit.
okay, good. They're apparent to me. How's that? It has become apparent, Mr. McGuire. All right. Okay. So like I said, I don't want to overdo it, but I did want more of a golden kind of brownish grassy background, just so it kind of breaks it away from all the green that's already there. Okay. So, all right. There is going to be some grass over here on the other side of the creek. I don't want to do it yet. That'll probably be last after I get the creek in. So I'm going to let that kind of go for now. I guess in the meantime, while this is kind of drying, I might go in and add a little of some of the greener weeds and sticks and twigs in the foreground. Again, this is still damp. So what I like to do as well as damp, I'll drag in a little bit of color here and there. And let it kind of, this is kind of like, this is kind of dropping one color into another that's already down. And letting it just kind of bleed out. and I think you can get some nice effects. You don't have to, everything doesn't have to be carefully painted here. All right, so little blocks of color here and there. And I'm still using the olive with the ultramarine blue, or no, with the yellow ochre. And I'm also doing a little bit of the Naples yellow. But as you can see, just while it's wet, I'll come in, I'll add, just a little more color. I am actually gonna fill this in. It's a little bit of shrubbery behind the building here. So I'm just gonna hit that with a little bit of green. Okay, good. And then same here. All I'm doing is kind of blending in some other, other colors into this. Because if you ever look at, the forest floor, it's got a lot of brown in it, a lot of yellow ochre, that kind of thing. But right now they got grasses, they got some other interesting things going on too. So. But what I like to do is I like to do these little streaks of color into wet paint, and they kind of blur up, they kind of puff out, and you end up with grasses, different grasses. Now I'll take, this area is dry, this area is wet. I will pull
I prefer Kentucky bluegrass.
Yeah. You'd hate to mow this, wouldn't you? I will pull some of that color. It's kind of like negative painting. I'm pulling the color into the foreground here, leaving the light and pushing that paint. Oops, sorry guys. There. But as you can see, I've kind of created a line of grasses by just making the background just slightly darker than the foreground. So I like a little bit of blurred, a little bit of very realistic or very tight, not realistic, tight. And I just kind of do a little bit of both, and it just creates, I think, better watercolors, having that combination of both. So at this point, yeah, this is slowly coming together, according to me, Keith McGuire. All right. So like I said, a little bit of dry, a little bit of wet. All right. I am cleaning my brush on my pants in case anybody wonders where the brush is going. All right. You can actually buy equipment, I hear. Special tools that you can actually wipe your brush on.
Yeah, it's a cotton.
Cotton?
Material,
Yeah, cloth. Towels, paper towels. It's a whole list of items that you can use. I should be selling my $29.95 watercolor towel, right?
There you go. I'll have to look into that.
Actually, you guys should be selling me your $29. All right. So I now have a good base coat on my foreground here, and I think my grasses are my building is probably about dry, so I'm going to go ahead and start working on that, and hopefully not stick my hand in the color that I'm doing right now.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to reset anyway, so let's let this dry.
All right, so yeah, that's a good idea. Why don't we? I don't want to stick my hand in it, so let's let this dry, and we'll start the building when it's done. Okay, the front or the grasses in front of the building are dry. The building's dry. I'm ready to start on the building itself. So I'm going to begin with the roof. Mostly because I can keep working then, you know. Anyway,
paint the scroll on the roof.
Yep. So I'm going to start with, it's going to be kind of a dingy, tin, nasty, burnt and crusty looking thing. It's seen better days. So I'm going to mix a little bit of the burnt sienna with the yellow ochre. And again, this is going to be dry brush because I'm going to kind of stroke these colors in. What I'm actually doing is kind of giving it the feeling of a little bit of corrugation to it. So and I'm not going to worry about it too seriously. Is it perfect lines? No, it's an old beat up building. Let's make it look crusty. So as you can see, I leave the lines in. Are they even, totally even? No, I think it looks a little better if we don't do that. I am going to come to the top though and kind of finish the color along the top of the building there. All right, good. Now along the bottom here, as you can see, I'm leaving some of the white on the roof there. That kind of shows that little bit of yellow. I'm doing little dots because this kind of looks like, makes it look kind of like the little rippled ends of a corrugated building. All right, now see how I did the little dots, and then I'm just going to drag some lines up the other way, but not too much. Not everywhere. All right. So as you can see, I've left these lighter panels, lighter streaks here. That kind of gives it the feeling that, you know, the light is hitting the tin. So I am going to go back though, and I'm going to take a little of the burnt sienna and a little bit of the indigo, because our happy orange roof is just too happy for me. So I'm going to add a little dark to this. I like my rust varied in color, so I am still kind of streaking it. And I was going to say, you know, don't just get on your painting and do it. Practice this a little bit. I do teach classes, and I always am amazed at how people will just jump right in without even trying it. You want to learn to kind of develop a good stroke. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'll take some of that darker color and I'll bleed it down. I'll soften it with a little bit of water. I just want that feeling of the rust kind of running down the building without killing all my lights. So I'm going to stop right there for now. I might go back, but I just want to kind of see what it looks like after I add a little more color to the building itself, the sides. I am going to come on this side and paint the underside of the tin over here. Now it's obviously dark.
Is that the indigo?
No, this is burnt sienna. Oh, well, it has some indigo in it. But yeah, this is mostly the burnt sienna with a little bit of indigo, just to kind of, I want it dark. I want to keep it, you know, because it's the underside of the tin itself. So, and I'll just straighten that up a little bit. And, all right, so at this point, I am going to take the burnt sienna. I'm going to do the front of the building with a little bit of burnt sienna and wow, that's turning out ugly. Okay, I think I grabbed the wrong one. I think I did. Okay, sorry about that. Let's try this again. So a little of the, you know what? I need a paper towel. I'm sorry. Yeah, I grabbed the wrong color and it's not gonna, I don't think I can fake this. All right, I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hick.
Wait, you mean you make mistakes?
Never.
You're flawed?
Only in the tray. Not on the paper. All right. Okay. Now I have some of that. Thank you. Sorry about that. All right. Let's try this again. Right color.
Which is? Just kidding.
Wrong color. Again, no wonder I'm having trouble with this. I keep looking at the color going, what the heck color is that? Yeah, I apologize.
Because I had you slide that one pan down.
No, that wasn't it. I'm way off. Here's the color I want. The other blue was a much warmer blue. I'm looking for a cool blue, and I hit it with the brown. I'm like, what the? It's making green, basically. And I'm like, that ain't right.
So that's the burnt sienna and which blue?
This is ultramarine blue, okay? Which is a much cooler blue, and as you can see, makes a very pretty gray. So, at this point, I am going to mix a little of the brown. So I want the color, the building isn't any one color specifically. It's made up of basically ugly colors. It's an old ancient building, so it's all crusty. All right, so notice I pull that color. I ran it along the edge of the roof there. Roof? Must be from Michigan. Roof. All right, and watch how I do this again. So I'm going to take a little bit of color up here. It's a little on the blue side, right? This time. I take my brush, I kind of damp dry it a little bit. I'll just drag this color down using the side of my brush, not the point at all. So using the side of the brush, not too much water. I got another old fence post there, but not to worry, I'm going to use the same technique on that. So anyway, so as you can see, I just kind of gently from the top drag some of this color down. Now what's nice about this is I'm not hitting everything, so as you can see, some of the yellow is still there. To kind of represent the happy sunlight coming through these trees and woods. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to let that set up. I've got a little burnt sienna. Now, remember there was an undercoat of yellow, a little burnt sienna, a little of the ultramarine blue. I like a little more shadow up near the roof here, the underhang shadow kind of thing, because we do have happy sunlight hitting here. So we do want it to have some shadow. All right, so at this point, I'm going to come to the other side of the building here, and I'm going to drag down mostly just ultramarine blue, a little bit of the brown. Now, as you can see, again, I'm working dry. I'm just using the side of the brush, and basically what I'm doing is skipping. Let me see if I can. Here, I'm going to get I like to call it like my well. I use that as a well of color and paint. I'll put it along the edge here. It's got to be, and I'll just kind of scrape, pull, drag that color down. Now I want a little bit of the brown in here too, so let's go ahead. Now up near the top here, it'd be probably a little browner than bluer. Everything towards the bottom would be fairly faded out because of the usually rain, everything kind of fades the wood. So, all right, so let's stop at that point and let that dry up. I think in the meantime, or let's actually stop here and let it dry, and I'll be right back. Okay, I finished the building. It's dry. Well, let's say the building is dry. It's not finished. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and add a little detail to it now. I'm going to start with a couple windows, kind of knocked out windows basically. So they're going to be very dark. And they'll actually create a little bit of a focal point for the eye. And that's kind of what you're doing. You're trying to lead people around your little painting here. Your little painting. We're gonna.
That was the indigo.
Yes.
Sienna mix.
Yep. Actually, it's almost just indigo.
Okay.
I'm going to leave a little bit of light. God knows what's in there. There's something in there, though. And then I think I'm going to drop from what I can see, that I painted over and I can't really see anymore. So the shed's going to be open. We're not going to put any doors in this thing, It's just kind of been around for so long. Everything's kind of kicked open. There's no windows. There's just openings. So and basically down here, I will have a little stoop coming off there, but because I put the black in, I'm not sure I can do it right at this moment. So I'm going to drop a couple more little windows over here. Hey Keith, why aren't you doing the very dark last? It's because I kind of need to see some of the details in this building so that I can kind of be able to finish up here. Okay, and then probably one more little door over here. You might be wondering, gosh, Keith, they look a little rough. That's kind of what I'm looking for. I want it to be a little on the looser side, like the building's a little torn up. So let me just get across here.
Is it an abandoned farm or an apocalyptic wasteland?
Well, according to The Walking Dead, which I've yet to see, I want to know when the reruns are coming.
Yeah, Netflix.
I do, but it's not.
They're not up to date.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the latest. And I've been very good and very patient. I've not heard much of anything. I've heard a few things, but I'll be honest with you. I am actually happiest when I am painting in front of my television. It's great to go out and do a little plein air. It's great to get out there and have be outside, take the photographs and stuff. But when it comes to painting, I tend to like to work indoors where everything's clean and usually, no bugs and adventures, if you know what I mean. Adventures and watercolors. So
if you want to see Keith painting happily,
yeah,
film an episode in front of his TV.
Television, yeah. You'll hear the background noise. That's basically what it is. It's kind of fun because I don't actually watch the TV, but I listen to it. And it's always fun because occasionally I'll look up and I'll go, wow, I didn't picture that character looking like that, especially commercials. I always laugh because I'm like, wow, they don't look anything like what I thought they were going to look like. So as you can see now, I'm dragging shadow, creating a little more shadow up here. And then I'm just dragging down, using the burnt sienna and the indigo, dragging the lines down, the old, creating the boards. You don't have to hit every single thing, and it don't have to be perfect. In fact, it's probably better if it isn't perfect. Makes it a little more fun. I think my people are very short. I just add a little height to my doorway there. All right. Same thing on the other side. Yee. All right. Again, I'm going to take probably a little bit of my shadow color. I'm going to run it, even though there isn't, there isn't a direct light on it, so there really shouldn't be that much of a shadow there. So I guess I can't do that. I'm just going to take a little color up there. And we're just going to kind of assume that the building is, the farther away from it is from the ground, the wood is usually a little better preserved. Just because the ground, down by the ground, the water splashes and kind of, rots the woodwork a little faster. Again, I'm just dragging a little line work down, burnt sienna, and indigo. Oops, that was a bad one. So if I have a mistake or if I don't think it's very straight, I'll just come in and knock it out. I'll just add a little water and turn it more into a bit of color on the wood rather than the actual lines between the building, the wood. Sorry, slats. Help me.
No, it's fun watching you
struggle with language. Struggling with language. Now, I am going to add to this side of the building just a little more of the ultramarine blue. I'm just going to drag a little more of that color down just because I want a little more shadow on that side. That looks pretty good. All right, very quickly.
It needs a faded barn logo.
Oh God. Yeah, you don't think I can? You don't think I can talk? You should see how I actually write. It's not very pretty. So anyway, very quickly, I'm gonna throw my little stumps in. No, not stumps. What are these? Things.
Random fence posts.
Yes, fence posts. Thank you. Knew there was a name for them. It's really weird. It's like wood that comes out of the ground, but there's nothing attached to it, like leaves or anything.
Not a tree.
It's not a tree. All right.
I think it should be keep out, no hunting, and
Oh, yeah.
free parking.
That still makes me laugh. During the election, I saw a thing on Facebook. It was pretty cute. It was basically, it was the signs, the political signs. Vote Hillary, vote Trump, vote, who was the other guy? Sanders. Vote Sanders. And then the last one was free straw. And the guy had the comment at the bottom, hey, I'm voting for free straw, you know. So, sorry. I'm sure you can cut that out when we're done.
Never.
Yeah. All right, so I got these guys done. I'm actually gonna throw just a little bit of that yellow onto the what are these things called? Fence posts. Just to get a little light on those also. So anyway, I'm gonna just get behind this one post because it's kind of exposed. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of color in there, so just gonna add a little bit to that. There. All right. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, so I kind of like my building right at the moment. I'm gonna step away from that.
It's a pretty nice building.
And I'm going to I kind of wanted to do a little I'm lost. Hang on. I want to do a little bit of the background kind of behind the building here. There is
What greens you just grabbed?
this is the olive, and basically what I'm doing is I want to have some shrubbery back here. I kind of want to break it away from the ground. Okay, so I just kind of put a little bit of a base shadow at the bottom of the bottom of the shrubs there, just to kind of split it from the foreground grasses. And then I'm going to actually take a little bit of the foreground grasses and brighten that up a little bit. There we go. Okay, now at this point, I am going to take a little bit of the olive green and the cerulean blue that we used earlier in a previous video. for some of the darker blue greens in here. And I'm going to use that to kind of break this up a little bit. So what I do is I'll have we want to have some dark and light in our anything that we do. So that's what I'm doing. I'm leaving little bits of light here and there. And then what I'll do is basically come in and I'm going to add a little of this brighter green in here. And I'm going to very softly take a damp brush again. I'm just going to kind of blend it a little. There we go. So it just kind of softens everything up. It's not hard lines. All right. Okay. So again, you can do negative painting. Is basically what you're going to do is by painting behind the foreground, you can kind of create grasses, weeds, sticks, twigs. All right. Okay, now, building's been here a while. I don't think anybody's mowed around it in a very long time. So obviously we want to get some of the, some of these grasses to grow up in front of the building. I'm trying, I know I'm spinning around and everything. I'm trying to find a way to keep painting.
Have to reset cameras in about 3 minutes. So
Okay, well, we're
I think it's a good spot to pause.
about 3 minutes. Right now, all I'm doing is just kind of breaking up the grass. See, that's kind of the fun thing of making this, makes it a little more interesting, is that you're trying not to have, like, a beautiful lawn. And this is going to be shrubbery back here. I think I do have to stop because I have to wait before I can go ahead and hit certain things. But I think we're pretty close to kind of finishing up this section right here. I really can't do anything for a couple minutes, so if we're gonna pause, this would be the time to do it. All right. The grass is now dry again. The building's dry. I'm going to put the final touches on this, the building in the middle foreground. How's that? Middle foreground? That don't make no sense. All right. So basically what I have left is I want to go back in. I'm going to take a little bit of indigo, and I just want to kind of darken up again my doorways. It's just, like I said, watercolors dry about 40% lighter than they. And I don't know if you notice, I don't like solid black holes. Okay, so I do like to have a little bit of light kind of shining in, like there's something in there, like maybe the back wall. I don't know, but I think it just looks a little better if you don't have it just flat dark. Okay.
Did you do a Kincaid style where the light's coming
No.
out of the barn?
Yeah, don't get me started. Don't get me started. All right, so at this point, the other thing I wanted to do was get a little of the yellow ochre, and I have an area back here. Actually, I think I'm going to turn it into more shrubbery. All right, so I'm pulling out, again, the olive green. So what we've been using. It's this section right here. It just seems kind of vague. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a little bit of grass. Wow. I'm going to change my brush to a little skinny brush.
What number is that?
This is a 2. I don't usually use a 2. I just happen to have one. Usually the smallest I'll go is a 4. You don't need to go any, because when they're too small, you don't get enough. You can't keep enough paint in your brush. It ends up being just kind of a pain to keep going back and dipping and dipping. So as you can see, what I've done very quickly is I kind of created a grassy foreground. And now it goes back to the other brush very quickly. Or not. There. And I'm going to just kind of get a little bit of color under here, so that it isn't, it was kind of like a little white spot. It was just kind of, it was annoying me. How's that? So I'm just kind of coming under here, adding a little bit of color. Same over here. We're just gonna very quickly give it a little bit of a grassy feel there. I'm gonna leave this alone up here, and again, a little bit of the cerulean and the green, just to create a little bit of a shadowy mixture. There's something there, we just don't know what it is. Nor do we care. It's green. Then I think at this point, we're going to wrap it up for today. Well, for this section. So, yeah, I'm pretty good with that.
Awesome.
So let's call it quits here.
So, once again, there's a link in the description if you want to find out the materials and where to purchase them, the paints, the paper, the brushes. Check out the video, part 1, if you haven't already, to see how he painted the majority of the trees in the background. What will be tomorrow's goal? What are we working on?
Tomorrow's goal is to finish it up, more or less. We're going to get the creek and the river rocks, or creek rocks, in the foreground here. A little bit of grass in the foreground, and we're going to call it pretty close to done. Yeah.
Awesome. So give this video a like, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the parts or any future videos, and thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye.